Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom. Today it's all about a new product we're going to launch. It's going to make your workflow faster, easier, and it's even going to turn on the lights. It's all about tethering today. Now, over the years, I'm a huge fan of tethering, and the reason is very simple. This is your camera, over there is your model, but all the images come in on this little display. Now, when you teach workshops or when you have clients in your studio, it's very annoying to always hear that question, can I see the images, can I see the images? So shooting to a big screen from day one for me was one of the solutions I always hunted for. Now, believe it or not, when I started, we actually started with that famous yellow cable connected to the camera straight to a CRT TV. In all honesty, it didn't work very well, but it did work. You saw the images coming in and, well, that was about it. When I switched over to medium format, that's when we started to do pro tethering, because now we had the connection with FireWire straight into Capture One and a whole world just opened up. I saw my images coming in, I could assign presets, I could change everything, and my client literally saw everything that was coming in from the camera straight on a big screen, including all the presets. That was awesome. Now, slowly, of course, also on other cameras, tethering became more the norm than, well, not. So almost all cameras started to use tethering. And that also meant that from FireWire, we actually progressed to USB. And USB sounds like a great solution, right? Because USB, of course, can have many options, like charging your camera over USB, making live view possible, data transfers. It's universal available on almost all computers. Yeah, and that's actually also where one of the problems came in. Because although USB is available on computers, the other side of the USB can vary a lot. Think about micro USB or, well, any other form of USB. There's a plethora of USB cables out there. So what is the main problem with USB for me? It was actually the smaller connectors. Because with tethering, you want a stable connection. You don't want to lose connection. And with those really small connectors, well, the ports got damaged really easily and you lost connection almost, well, 1 or 2 times a day. That was pretty normal. And then USB-C entered the market. And for us, this was a delight. For the very simple reason, the USB connector is way more stable, way more solid, and of course the transfer speeds went up again. So today we're going to announce the next generation in tether cables, because only with the step to USB-C doesn't make the perfect tether cable. The perfect tether cable, I think we found it. It's an American company called 9V, and they actually designed the IQWire. The main difference is that this cable was designed by a photographer who actually works in the field, and it's aimed at photographers. And there are a few things that I want to address. Now, there are many unique selling points of this cable, but a few things that are really important for me. Now, one of the biggest frustrations for me is that I want to use a 10-meter cable. I don't want to use extension cables, because extension cables, again, can come loose during a photo shoot. And I don't want to worry about that. But also with an extension cable, you can get dirt into your connectors. I also don't want that. IQWire delivers 5-meter cables and 10-meter cables, and all USB-C, of course. But there's more. Now, of course, you also want to be able to, after your work, take your cable with you, right? And with a 10-meter cable, that's a pretty long cable. So it's important that the cable is flexible. Well, they use very flexible materials, but it's still industrial standard. So if you walk over your cable, no problem. You won't damage the cable. Don't do it every day, of course, but they're very, very sturdy, but most of all, very flexible. Now, when you fold up your cable, you of course also want something to, well, keep it in place. Well, they also thought about that, because on every cable you find a Velcro strap in which you can bound your cables together. So no more messy cables in your bag. All very nice and tidy. Now, you might wonder, Frank, 10-meter cables, how is the connection? Well, that's actually the biggest improvement, why we call this the next generation in tethering. On all the 10-meter cables you find 2 inline boosters. Those inline boosters don't only enhance the signal, but they also light up. So that means in your dark studio, you see the cables on the floor because they're fiery red, but you also see the lights on the boosters. So that means that nobody by accident will actually step on your booster because, well, it lights up, so people will actually be careful, I hope. Another thing that's very important is the IntelliConnect. Now, you of course want stable connections and you want fast connections. So when you connect your camera to Capture One, you will almost instantly see that the camera is connected. But also the data transfer is improved a lot. We did several tests in Capture One with 100 RAW files shooting into Capture One on a MacBook M1 Pro with the Sony a7R IV. With all the other cables we tested, we came out at about 1 minute 5 and 1 minute 10. With the IQWires, every time we clocked in about 55 seconds. And another thing is, of course, how do you connect the cables? You don't want to know how many people mail us that actually don't understand that cables for tethering are often one-directional. On the IQWires we have labels on the computer side. Now don't think it stops there. There's more. Now, one of the things that I found frustrating with a lot of cables was actually when you connect it to your camera, you have this whole loop here, and then it goes under the camera and then it goes to your computer. I just loved angled USB-C connectors. I'm proud to announce that IQWire also uses angled USB-C connectors. Now, if you don't want an angled USB-C connector, no problem, we also have straight ones. And there's more. Now, over the time, I've been a big fan of using an iPad Pro for my photo editing, but I would also love to shoot tethered to an iPad Pro. We did a test in our studio and I'm very happy to announce that with the IQWire, the 10-meter cable, without using any other power supply, we are able to shoot very stable into the iPad Pro. So 10 meters with 2 inline boosters, no extra power supply, straight into the iPad Pro. And the funny thing is, it also charged my camera during the shoot. That's something, by the way, I highly advise you guys to turn off because the battery of your iPad has a very long dure, but when you also charge your camera, it dies pretty fast. Although, we still ended the whole workshop with 10% left in the battery, so it is doable. Now, you also hear me saying about power, right? Yeah. Sometimes you have cameras that don't have enough power to actually be able to shoot tethered. Sometimes you have a laptop that doesn't deliver enough power to shoot tethered. Now, one of the solutions for this is always to use a powered hub. But what if you don't want to use a powered hub? Or what if you're on a location and you don't have a powered hub? The inline boosters on the IQWires also have a USB connector where you can actually put in extra power supplies. Now, in all honesty, there aren't many cameras out there that need that extra power supply, but it's just very cool that if you need it, it's there. Well, for us, IQWire is the next generation in tethering cables. The angled connectors, the fiery red color, of course the boosters, and of course the light inside the boosters, and the quicker data transfer, but most of all, the very, very stable connectors, because you use 10 meters in one piece. No more chances of cables coming loose, a very, very solid connection. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. Keep tethering with the next generation of tether cables, IQWire. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. See you again next time. Hit that like and subscribe button, but most of all, tell other people about our channel so we can grow, and about IQWire so they can also take the next step into tethering.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.